Hey boys and girls, we're on Unit 8 and we're on Lesson 8. This is all about classifying quadrilaterals. And quadrilaterals are shapes that have 4 sides. So let's learn about the shapes that have 4 sides. The first one we're going to start off with is called a parallelogram. A parallelogram, it says, are the opposite sides equal length. So that means, and I'm going to highlight them, this side and this side are going to be equal lengths. And I can mark them with the ticks that we learned about. Then this side and this side are also going to be equal lengths, but their own separate lengths. So I'll mark them with different ticks. So this side will have 2 ticks, but they are the same because they both have the same ticks. So that is correct. Are the opposite sides parallel? Well, let's see. If I drew out these lines and drew out this line, they are not going to touch. So those ones were parallel. Now let's draw out these one. Go across, drew it all the way across the screen. It never touched. So that means, yes, both opposite sides are parallel of each other. Now the last one says, do the opposite angles have the same sides? We'd have to measure this one, but for now we're just going to look at it. Do these 2 angles look the same? Yeah, they do. Okay, what about these 2 angles? Yeah, they do. See how they're opposite of each other? They're right across. Okay, so yes, they are the same. So this is a parallelogram. You know it's a parallelogram if you see the following things. If you see no right angles, or well, no, that's a lie. Scratch that. You see that if the opposite angles are the same. You see it's a parallelogram if the opposite sides are parallel to each other. So this side and this side are parallel to each other, or this side and this side are parallel to each other. But in the end, this side and this side and this side both need to be parallel. Let's say only one of them was parallel, it would not be a parallelogram anymore. Okay? And then the opposite sides have to have equal lengths. So this side and this side need to be equal, and this side and this side need to be equal to each other. Okay? That is a parallelogram. The next one is a rhombus, and this is actually still considered a parallelogram again, because if you look at the qualifications, it needed opposite sides equal length. Well, yep, this side's equal to this side, and actually on this one, all sides are equal to each other. But that's okay because the opposite sides are equal to each other, so it makes it a parallelogram. The next qualification was that the sides needed to be parallel. This one's parallel, this one's parallel. So that one works. Okay, the next one is the angles need to be the same. So these angles are the same, and these angles are the same. So a rhombus is a parallelogram. But not all parallelograms are rhombuses. Just a rhombus can be considered that. So for it to be a rhombus, it needs to have opposite sides are equal length. Yes, and all the sides are actually the same length. Are the opposite sides parallel? Yes, they were. Do the opposite angles have the same sides? Yes, they do. Then this figure is a parallelogram, and the rhombus has, so all 4 sides are equal length, but you can see that right here. It says it right there. But they don't have right angles. There's no right angles in it. And that's really important because the next shape we're learning is a square. The square has 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. That's what makes it a square. It's also a parallelogram because the opposite sides are the same length, the opposite sides are parallel, and the opposite angles have the same sides. So it is considered a parallelogram too. Could this be considered a rhombus? No, it couldn't, because remember, a rhombus does not have 4 right angles. A square does. So that's what makes the square different than a rhombus, but they're both parallelograms. Okay, the next one we're going to learn. This is a rectangle. It has 4 right angles. But it's different than a rhombus and a square because are all the sides the same length? No. So it has 4 right angles. The opposite sides are the same length, but not all sides are the same length. To be a square, you need to have 4 equal sides, which we have, and then 4 right angles. To be a rhombus, you need to have the 4 equal sides, and then different angles. There's no right angles on a rhombus. These are just ways to tell the difference between the two. But it is a parallelogram because the opposite sides are the same length. This side was the same length as this. This side was the same length as that. The sides are parallel to each other. If I was to extend it out, they would never touch. But if I was to extend out this one, they'd never touch. Okay, so that one's correct. And the opposite angles have the same size. Well, yes, that's the same size. And that's the same size. Okay, so it is a parallelogram. So a rectangle is a parallelogram, a square is a parallelogram, and a rhombus is a parallelogram. Remember, a rhombus has 4 equal sides with no right angles. A square has 4 equal sides with right angles. And a rectangle has opposite sides are equal, but it has 4 right angles, which makes it a rectangle. Okay, the last one is not a parallelogram, and let me tell you why. This side and this side, are they equal to each other? No, they're not. So that's one way it's not a parallelogram. Okay, now look at these lines. I extend them out, and look what happens. They touch right there. Those are intersecting lines. Even though they're not touching on the shape, it still makes them, I'm going to go to a different color. It still makes them intersecting lines. And I'll make this darker too so you can see it. There. And there. So they're intersecting right there. So that makes it, no, not a parallelogram. So it is not a parallelogram. But it's still a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. So, a trapezoid can be recognized with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides, not more than 2. You can also see a trapezoid look like this. And it's considered a trapezoid because this line and this line are parallel to each other. Okay, so you'll see a trapezoid either like this, which you see right there. Oops. Or you'll see it like that. Okay? So we are going to look at this. We're going to classify quadrilaterals now. So it's either going to be a parallelogram, a rectangle, a square, a rhombus, or a trapezoid. And we need to justify our answer. So we're going to look at each one and figure it out. It says there's only one correct answer. So let's go through each one and make sure. So remember, a parallelogram needs to have opposite sides be parallel to each other. Were these parallel? Yes. Were these ones parallel? Yes, they're not going to touch. Okay, so we've got 1 check. Okay, now the next one, is this side equal to this side? Yes, it is. What about this side to this side? You're right, they are. So we have that. Okay, now let's look at the angles. Is this angle the same as this angle? Looks like it. We don't have any way to measure it, so we just have to look at it by sight right now. This side and this side? Yep. Ooh, so it could be a parallelogram. So I'm going to put a check mark because it could be that, but let's check to make sure it's not any of the other ones. Okay? So let's look. A rectangle, we just learned, has 4 right angles. Does this have 4 right angles? No, it doesn't, so it can't be a rectangle. A square has 4 right angles and equal sides. Does this? No, there's no 4 right angles and the sides aren't the same. A rhombus has no right angles. Ooh, I see no right angles. But it also has 4 equal sides. So is it a rhombus? Nope. Okay, a trapezoid has only one pair of parallel lines. We found that there were 2 pairs of parallel lines. So it can't be a trapezoid. So it has to be a parallelogram. And it's a parallelogram because the opposite sides are equal in length and parallel, and the opposite angles are the same size. Let's do another one. Okay, so this next one, classify each quadrilateral as a parallelogram. So that's my option: rectangle, square, rhombus, or trapezoid. There's one correct answer. Okay, so let's look at it. Can it be a parallelogram? So if I look, this angle, or not angle, this side and this side, they're parallel to each other. But are these ones? No, they create intersecting lines right there, so they're not going to be parallel to each other. So it can't be a parallelogram. If it's not a parallelogram, it can't be a rectangle because a rectangle is a parallelogram. It can't be a square because a square is a parallelogram. It can't be a rhombus because a rhombus is a parallelogram. So it has to be a trapezoid. And we know this because it has 4 sides, but just one pair of sides is parallel to each other, and it was those ones right there. Okay? This next one, there are 2 correct answers. So that means 2 of these up here are going to be correct. So it's going to be a parallelogram, a rectangle, a square, a rhombus, or a trapezoid. So let's go through. Are these lines parallel to each other? Yes. Are these lines? Yes. Okay. Is this line equal to this line? Yes. Is this line equal to this line? Yes. Okay, so all the opposite sides are equal to each other. Is this angle equal to this angle? Yes. They're both right angles. This angle and this angle are too. So it is a parallelogram. Is it going to be a square? No, it's not. And we also know it's not going to be a trapezoid because there's 2 pairs of parallel lines. It's not going to be a square because not all the sides are equal. But that would also disqualify a rhombus. So it has to be a rectangle and a parallelogram because there are 4 right angles and the opposite sides are equal to each other. Okay, so it has 4 right angles and it's a parallelogram because the opposite sides are equal in length and parallel, and the opposite angles are the same. Okay, quadrilaterals. This one, it has 4 correct answers. So let's figure out what it is. So, is it going to be a parallelogram? Yes, it is. We can see that. These lines are parallel. These lines are parallel. All the lengths are the same. So it is going to be a square. Can it be a rectangle? Well, it has 4 right angles, right? And the opposite sides have to be the same length. Are they the same length? Yeah, it doesn't matter that they're all exactly the same length, so it is a rectangle too. Now, is it a rhombus or a trapezoid? I know it's not going to be a trapezoid because I already said there's 2 pairs of parallel lines. Okay? So it is a rhombus too. Remember, a rhombus has to have equal sides and the opposite angles have to be the same. Is that the case here? Yeah. These angles are the same. These angles are the same. And all the sides have the same lengths. So a square is a parallelogram, a rectangle, and a rhombus. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so you can see here, 4 equal sides, 4 angles. That's why it's a square. It's a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. It's a rhombus because it has 4 equal sides. And it's a parallelogram because the opposite sides are equal in length. Their lines are parallel to each other and the opposite angles are the same. Now, I want to do this real fast. It's a quick review. What is this shape right here? It's hard to see, but this is a rectangle. Some of you might want to say it's a square, but it's a rectangle. So that makes are all the sides equal length? No. Opposite sides are equal length? Yes. Two pairs of opposite sides are parallel? Yep. One pair of opposite sides are parallel? Nope, it had two. All angles are right angles? Yep, so it's a rectangle. Let's look at the next one. Are all sides equal length? No. Are opposite sides equal length? Yes. Are two pairs of opposite sides parallel? Yes. Is it just one pair? Nope, we found out it was two. Are all angles right angles? Yep. So this is actually another rectangle. Okay, look at this one. Are all sides equal length? No, they're not. Are opposite sides equal length? Yeah, they are. Are two pairs of opposite sides parallel? Yes. Are one pair of, nope. Are all angles right angles? Nope. So this has to be a parallelogram. I can't read. I can't do it now all of a sudden. Parallelogram. Let's check real fast. I feel like I spelled that wrong. Nope, I spelled it right. Okay. The next one. It is also another parallelogram. It had no equal sides. The opposite sides were equal. The opposite sides were parallel. Two of them. There's not this. Okay, this last one is a trapezoid. We know this because are all the sides equal length? No. Are opposite sides equal length? One is, but the other aren't. Are two pairs of parallel sides parallel? Or opposite sides parallel? No. Is one pair? Yes. Are there right angles? No. So it has to be a trapezoid. Okay? So real fast, if I were you, I'd pause this video, write down this description of each one so you remember what they are. Okay? Thanks guys for watching. If you have questions, message me. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.